Good evening, everybody. Happy Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome, welcome. Sorry to keep you waiting there, but good evening and welcome to the Shelf Help Club. It's Monday, our favourite day of the week, right? So I'm Tony, your host tonight and founder of the Shelf Help Club, which is, if you're here, you probably know that's the world's first global self-help book club and platform. And we're all about celebrating self-help and personal growth and working on ourselves with friends. So tonight we are in for an evening of reflection, inspiration and motivation, because we are joined by life coach and author Selina Barker for an interactive session supporting us to say a conscious goodbye to 2023 and to start to get clear on what we want for 2024. So Selina is a life design coach with over 15 years experience helping people all over the world to create lives and careers that they love. And our session tonight will be based on her brilliant best-selling Goodbye Hello Journal. You might have seen me banging on about this over on Instagram and email and stuff. I think, Selina, how many journals have you done already?
Oh, quick count. I think this is the number 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, that's number 7.
Brilliant.
Counting on my shelf. Well, but prior to that, they were like PDF versions, and then the original one was about 12 years ago, and that was a Word document.
Oh, well, that's
not even a PDF.
I love that. This is progress in action. So you don't need to have a journal, guys, to take part tonight, but you will need some way of taking notes, and then you might quite like to get the journal after we've dived into it tonight. So I will be sharing, Selina shared a very generous discount code with us, which I'll be sharing in the chat box as we go. So yeah, the format tonight will be quite informal as usual. We're using the chat box to chat. Your mics are off, but keep your cameras on if you like. We love to see you. Why don't you guys check in the chat now? I think you are already. Who are you? Where are you? How do you feel about saying goodbye to 2023? And you get checking in when I say hello to Selina. So hi, Selina. Thank you so much for joining us. Pleasure to have you here again.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Really happy to be here.
And we want tonight to be as interactive as possible, don't we? So I'm going to be asking you some questions to kick off, but you said you're ready for the juicy questions if anyone wants to.
Yes, I love getting questions. I love answering questions on the spot. So yeah, any questions you guys have, pop them in the chat.
Brilliant. And I'll field the questions in the chat. But yeah, let us know, guys. What do you feel about saying goodbye to 2023? I mean, I can't believe it's December. I can't believe we're talking about this already. When I planned this session, it was like so far away, but it's here now. So tonight I think it's really good though, isn't it, to take time to reflect and then look forward. So that's what really tonight is about. So Selina, just to start with, how are you? Where are you today?
I'm good. I am in Southeast London, Lewisham, and starting to feel the beginnings of a winter cold taking over. So I'm sort of in that sort of like trying to ward it off, which I feel like is kind of what December is all about. It's trying to balance hibernating with extreme, so like socializing and trying not to get ill in the process. It's like a dark
wearing sequins because that makes everything better.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, we've got another Lewisham babe in the house. Yay! In the chat box. Hi, Sophia. And I always ask this question: talk us through a day in your life, because not to you, but to everybody, because the people we speak to here are so different. So quite often it's authors, but author is just one of the hats you wear, isn't it? So what have you been spending the last week or so? What have you been spending your days doing?
So, it's such a good question. I was thinking about, right, how do I, because every day obviously is a bit different, but at the moment it starts off with doing half an hour of yoga and meditation and Pilates. Well, after taking my son to school, which is nice to get outside, get some fresh air. And then I do from 9:15 to 9:45, I do a live class. And that is one of the biggest sort of life changes for me this year, has been getting into this regular 4 mornings a week doing this. It has been such a game changer.
Fitness? Do you mean fitness when you say
fitness wise? You know what? It's actually more for me. I mean, it's definitely making me strong. It's definitely keeping me strong and fit. I always say I like it because I do most of it. Most of it is done lying on your back, which is perfect for the morning. Like there's not a lot of sort of not leaping around. So like Pilates, yoga, and then we do 10 minutes of meditation at the end. And that for me, when I was doing my other book, Burnt Out, I was really looking into managing your energy to protect you from burnout, but also how to thrive in a fast-paced world. And I learned a lot about God, I'm diving in, going off on a tangent. But anyway, this is how I
cool.
like to roll.
We can roll with that.
And I was reading up a lot on yin and yang. And it said, actually, we often think that, right, so you start off active, and then rest and stillness. But actually, I read somewhere it's important to actually start with the stillness. And I've really found that starting my day by not getting up, having coffee and rushing off into my day, which is what I used to do. I say I am a recovering workaholic, not always that recovering, but having this ritual of like starting the day on the mat in stillness and connecting with me and having that half an hour and ending it in meditation really sets me up for the day in such a beautiful way. And then at the moment, because I'm sending out all the journals from my home to people in the UK. I've got someone in Germany sending them out to Europe, and I've got Amazon in America sending them out there. But so now every day I then print out my little labels and I pack my boxes, and so that starts my day. And then I'll either coach one of my clients or record content for my membership Club U. So I do a little weekly. In fact, I think Helen may be with us, who's a Shelf Help member and a Club U member. She's very excited about tonight to be combining the two. Or sometimes I do sort of online corporate events, workshops and things on burnout, managing your energy. But what I make sure I do is that I color code my calendar. And in green, I have things that take a lot of energy. And I make sure that each day I only have one, maximum two things that really use up energy, because otherwise, and that's how I can make sure I don't burn myself out anymore by overloading my plate with things that take up so much energy. I then find myself frazzled at the end of the week. So usually got maybe one big energy activity, and then at the moment it's a lot of creating content for Instagram for marketing, which is
sharing the book.
Which I'm more and more trying to find the fun and the creative way of doing it, because I really love my work. And if there's ever an area where I'm like, I am not enjoying this, which has for a long time been social media content creation, I'm like, I've got to change how I'm doing it. So that at the moment is my area of growth, where I'm doing a course with Lucy Sheridan on Instagram and content creation, and so learning as well is a part of it. And at the moment, brilliant. Because it's winter, trying to find pockets of time to hibernate as much as possible. I'm really on this note this year about December is a time where a lot of people end up being really frazzled, because our bodies are calling for us to hibernate, for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, and we are nature, like, so we do respond to the seasons, we change like the seasons do, so our bodies want us to hibernate. But it's Christmas, and so we're doing more socializing, more events, shopping. Someone described it as like it's the Olympics of the mental load of like all the things that we've got to do, and we've
been training for this all year. We can do it.
So I'm definitely trying to find as well pockets of time so to hibernate. So getting into bed as early as possible. I'm getting into bed at 8:30 p.m. at least one night a week, if not two, is definitely part of my weekly routine at the moment in the winter months.
That's such a good tip on the energy planning. And also just general, like hearing you say, like getting intentional about what you're doing and where you're going to be putting your energy. And my husband's just got an Aura ring. Is it an Aura ring? And he said to me, well, it's going to tell me when I wake up in the morning whether I've got energy or not for the day. And I was like, well, what if it says you haven't? It's like tough shit, because you still have to do the day. And I was like, I don't need that information, because but with your plan, you'd be like, okay, I've worked out like on Tuesdays I have less energy, so I'm not going to be like.
Well, funny enough, Monday, I always call Monday the warm-up day of the week. So other than rare occasions like this event, I was like, it's a Monday, I'm absolutely doing it because I want to do it with you and I want to do it with your lovely community. But Mondays, I don't book in any coaching, any events. I don't record any podcasts. It is like my slow warm-up day into the week. And January is my slow warm-up month into the year. I think it's, for me, it's really important to have these, frame these things, because otherwise it's almost like too much of a shock to my system to leap into stuff on a Monday. I'm like, whoa, just come out of the weekend. Hold on.
Yeah. And I remember because we did an event in January most recently, which would be January this year. And I remember you said that you and loads of people in the community took that away with them. That it's like, don't do your vision board day 2 of January. Kind of give yourself
Mhm.
January to kind of like percolate on things like the
Yes.
reflection time you've had, looking back, because you don't need to make all the decisions immediately.
Yeah, in fact, really like so January of this year, at the start of this year, I was really noticing there are more and more people saying this as well. Is like take it slow in January. Like don't sort of feel in a rush to do all the things on your, your 2024 list. And actually now approaching January again, I'm like, I really want to use January a bit like in the morning for me, that yin stillness, settling into
Mm,
me, time on the mat. I kind of want my January as much as possible to be that equivalent of like the stillness, the yin, because we're not, I mean, I'm definitely not doing that in December. Like everything feels sort of
yeah,
hectic. And as much as I try and get pockets of hibernation, like the energy around us is like,
yeah,
sparkly and active. Then
twinkling.
January, yeah, and then January it's like, now what? And actually I was talking with my Club U members about, January, sort of feeling a bit of dread about January and like winter, but without Christmas. And what do you do? And I was like, it's all about how you frame it. And really, this year
Mm,
for me, January is going to be that slow down, recover from the hecticness of Christmas, and have
yeah.
that time for me and time for reflection and time to gently start thinking about what you want 2024 to be about. So this idea that when we hit new year, it's like, right, I should have my plan and off I go. Actually, again, looking at nature, February, beginning of February is really when the seeds here in the Northern Hemisphere really start to germinate, gently under the ground. So that's really the time to now be going, okay, now gently, slowly, let's start taking action. But January to have that as like permission to go slow and just feel into your dreams as well. Don't rush into like, this is what I'm going to do. Try it on for size. Does this feel right to me? And
Mm.
use that time for stillness and reflection. I think
Yeah,
it's
Richard actually said in the chat by February the evenings are starting to get lighter. So like you said,
yeah,
it's that kind of like
yeah,
that feeling of like, okay, new life, like new beginnings. Somebody has
exactly.
asked though, Fiona said, talks about what if your schedule isn't as flexible as ours might be, when you can kind of say, this day I'm going to do this, another day I won't. Are there ways to kind of to mitigate energy spikes and things
Yes,
on
so
less
that is a
flexible
great question because yeah, I work for myself. So I mean, I'm not always the nicest boss. I'm still quite a harsh, taskmaster.
to yourself?
But but yeah, when you've got meetings and things on a Monday, you can't necessarily say, I'm sorry, this is my warm-up day of the week. And
Could try.
meetings, you could try. But it much like actually the example of December, Christmas time, I've been saying this a lot in posts and things. I'm not suggesting we cancel Christmas. We still, it's still all happening. And I love Christmas, but finding those pockets of time. So it's looking at the time that we do have control over and what to do
Mhm.
with that. And so in the time that we have available, the time that we have spare, being intentional about how you use it to rest, restore, get that stillness, get that hibernation. Right now it's like just more time in bed, reading,
Yeah.
journaling, just like getting snuggled up in blankets, which is different in the summer. It's more time outdoors and in nature. So working with the pockets of time that you do have, and being intentional and also discovering what helps you to restore your energy, fill up your cup. um,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah, I love that idea. Touched on a few times. It's like try a few things on for size. You don't
Yeah,
need to. I'm sure lots of us have been like this in the past, where you're just like, I'm going to be this person from Monday, and it's
yeah,
like, oh dear, like my brain didn't get the memo.
yeah. And also never say never. Like I always used to say I couldn't get on with meditation. I was like, a really good friend of mine is the female voice of Headspace. She's like director of meditation of Headspace. I was like, Eve, give me some tips. Like I can't crack it. And I was like, if I can't figure it out from her, like maybe I'm
Yeah.
just not made for it. And then in doing this yoga and meditation each morning, I realized actually what my body needs is to move, get that energy out, and then I can be still. So it's been years of trying it, deciding actually it really isn't for me. I always say never, because you just don't know. And exploring and experimenting is such a key part of designing a life that you love, designing a life in which you can thrive. Because we don't know what works for us. You know, so just, yeah, keep experimenting and trying things out, definitely.
Yeah, totally. So how would you describe your relationship with yourself currently as you're going into 2024 or saying goodbye to
Mm.
23?
I'm really grateful. I am really grateful for what I chose as my intention for 2023, because and we were talking about this before when we were talking about how to have the sort of structure tonight. And I was saying the power of doing the journal, of going through, reflecting on all that you've been in the sort of year that's coming to an end, before setting an intention for the year to come, is that you can be I can start the journal thinking, right, I know what 2024 is going to be about. I know what I want this next year to be about. And then I'll come through the journal and realize that's not what I need it to be about. And that really happened for me last year. I found last year, for a variety of reasons, a really tough year for me. And I got to the end of it, and I can't remember what it was. I probably had ideas of how I wanted my business to grow or something. That was going to be my big thing. And I went through the whole process, and at the end of the reflection, I was like, also reflecting on the time of the pandemic and all the years we've been through, I was like, this has been a rough old time for all of us.
Mm.
And I can't be acting as if it hasn't also been a rough old time for me. And you know what I actually need 2023 to be all about? Is for me to use it to fill up my cup. And it kind of came out of the blue, and I went, oh, that's what I want it to be. No big dreams, no like, what am I going to do out in the world? What big dream am I going to conquer next? I need to focus on filling
Mm.
up my cup and recovering from these past few years of, that have been tough, collectively tough. And so I'm ending this year feeling so grateful, because I really did do that, and I really did prioritize that. I mean, falling off the wagon, on and off, that's fine. Um, and but it really did. I feel so different to how I did at the end of last year. So much more grounded, um, and happier, more at peace, because I've kept prioritizing doing things that fill up my cup. So
Mm.
I'm feeling grateful to myself, and also with a side note of, you probably do still need to rest a bit more and stop pushing yourself so hard, because that I'm constant work in progress on that. I'm very transparent about that, about being a recovering workaholic who is sometimes not so recovering.
But you know what, Selina, though, just from talking to you now versus last time we spoke, which would have been a year ago,
Mm.
you do have a much more grounded energy. That's
Do
like, you
I?
definitely, yeah, like talking about kind of identifying those kind of hibernation moments and things like that.
Mm.
As last time we spoke, it is what you talked about. This is what I want for myself. So it's amazing to see. And so yeah,
Oh, that's so
what a
lovely to
gift to yourself,
hear.
eh?
Yeah. And actually it's really tied in with, I think doing that morning sort of ritual that's felt like has been a quite spiritual activity as well, and having that as a daily thing, it's really connected me with nature a lot more. So that's why I do talk a lot more now about, um, how we respond to the seasons, and really weaving that into life design. And yeah, it does feel a lot more grounded. And that's huge, because if I look back 10 years ago, I was someone who was always fizzing up here. And I
Mm.
still have my moments for sure, but to feel grounded, I did a retrospective. I don't know why I'm calling it that. Sounds very grand. I looked back at the 6 journals that I'd filled in. And obviously I've got the PDFs before that, but last week I was looking back through them. And I've lost my thread. Why was I saying that? I think one of the things that I really saw, that was it. One of the things in doing that is that I had realized there was some really big dreams, particularly around my work and career, that hadn't happened. And I hadn't really wanted to look back at those, because I sort of had a sort of underlying sense of shame and failure that they hadn't happened. And because in the journal, you do your dream life 5 years from now. Well, now I've got to book journal 7. I can look back and literally look at that dream life and match it to the one today. And I was like, oh, there are some big ones which are, there is no match at all. But looking through the pages of those journals, I realized how much I was longing for a deeper groundedness, deeper sense of connection with nature. I even saw in there, I'd love to one day have, try and find some form of spiritual practice. And I realized that even though those bigger outer dreams haven't happened, those subtler, gentler inner dreams have. And actually, how grateful I am that those are the dreams that have happened for me. Far more than one of the big dreams is like having a TV show. I am so relieved I don't have a TV show. Can you imagine how exhausting that would be? I was like, oh no, thanks, Selina, for not making that happen. I wouldn't want that at all now. But yeah, so
I think that shows that life design can be about feelings as well as, and like
100%.
a sense of something, versus like an out. Obviously, we set goals, and to meet those goals, there are going to be some kind of markers. But quite often, it's like, why do you want those things? It's because you want to feel a certain way. So for me, for
Yeah,
a long time, it was, I just want to feel peaceful, and I didn't even know what that looked like, but it was like, it was because it was the opposite of what I felt.
yeah,
So, and then you get there and it's maybe not how you imagined it, but it's like the feelings is what you wanted.
that exactly. Oh, I've forgotten her. Who's the who wrote the Finding Your North Star? Who's the famous writer and life coach? Oh,
I don't
Steering
know.
by
You're in the
Starlight.
someone.
Martha Beck. Thank you,
I was
Angela.
going to say
Martha
you're in the
Beck.
right place.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah, I know
bingo.
exactly. Of course, everyone's gonna know. Martha Beck. I mean, she wrote about this. Oh, I mean, I remember reading her books 15, 20 years ago, and I remember reading her saying that, like, so much of the time with our dreams and our goals, what we're really seeking is to feel a certain way. So actually, the real importance of doing exactly what you've said is going, how do I want to feel? And then thinking, okay, well, and it's one of the questions I was going to ask tonight anyway. So feel free to like start writing this down, answering this question for yourself. But how do you want to feel? And then looking at, what do I already know helps me to feel that way? What are the activities that help me to feel that way? What are the practices? Who are the people? What are the places that help me to feel that way? So then you can start weaving more of those ingredients into your day to day, into your week, into your month, once a year. But also then comes in the experimenting of, like, saying, well, I don't know what that means to me. So I'm going to try these things that other people that,
Mm-hmm.
do. And that seems to find them peace. And some of them will work for me and some of them won't. And that is really how we then do actually create a life in which that we can really enjoy. And I have to say, as with all of this, I learn so much from teaching this and doing this work. And these journals actually have been such a guiding light for me in that, because 10 years ago, or even further before that, when I first created the first Goodbye Hello PDF, it was all about dreaming big and going after those dreams and creating this life that looked a certain way. And in the process of it, I've really learned how much it's not about what life looks out like on the outside. It's not even going after goals and going after dreams, although that is a part of it. But just as much as that, it's about going, how do I want to feel? What do I want to experience? And how do I want to grow? And not necessarily knowing the answers to those things. But that's why the setting of intention is like planting seeds and seeing how that grows. And sometimes what I love, the magic of writing these things down, whether it's in this journal or your own journal, is that you can look back and go, oh, that's so crazy. I said I wanted to feel, have more light in my life. And I thought it was going to look a certain way. But actually now I've got this home that's like flooded with light, and I hadn't even, it's like, it's really interesting how these things to then we watch how they take shape,
Yeah,
rather than going, this is how it needs to look, so I'm going to go after that. And so you plant the seed and see how that intention takes shape, and that feels
lovely.
really magical.
Yeah, I agree. Should we get into the life design process then a little bit? Because
Yes.
that's kind of what the journal is. It's like taking us through this process. So
Yeah.
in my notes, I've simplified it as: look back, look forward, stay on track. The end.
Great. In
This
a
is why I
nutshell,
haven't got a
yes.
journal, probably. But does that, like, obviously you can expand on those, but that's the idea that I kind of get from, so reflection,
Yeah.
and then from that setting the intention. Because guys, tonight I said to Selina, I think what'd be great if everyone just sets an intention, and she was like, can I make a suggestion? That might not be the best way for everyone to spend their time. And I was like, okay, that's fine, that's good to know. Because you're right, like you need to, like, spend time on these questions, don't you? Because you'll have think about it overnight and wake up and maybe want to add something. And I think that's what we'll talk about in a little while, about how we can best use the next few weeks to kind of to get real clarity. But yeah,
Yeah.
the life design process, can you talk us through that briefly, and then we'll maybe ask people, and then maybe we'll get people doing some journaling.
Yeah. So the fact that it's look back, it's reflect. And that part is so important, which is why when he said what maybe we can, like, walk people through how to set an intention, I was like, well, the thing with that is that I wouldn't want to jump fast forward people to that part, because that's kind of one of the reasons why I think, well, why New Year's resolutions don't work. Like, all the statistics show that about, I can't remember off the top of my head, it was about 8% of New Year's resolutions
It's really
ever
low, yeah.
actually even happen. And partly that's because it's that, and this is very much part of our society, is to always be looking forward to the next thing. This is what I want to happen next. This is what, I want to make happen. And actually the importance of looking back and reflecting is, first of all, acknowledging what you have been through this year before it's like, right, what's the next thing? What am I going to ask of myself next? What am I going to ask next of life? What am I going to do next? It's like, hold on, hold on, hold on. Can we just take a moment to really acknowledge the journey you've been on over this past year? And that's what the first part of the journal is. And that's what I felt, the reason I created this in the first place all those years ago, as a Word document that I shared with some clients and a few of my friends, because I wanted something that, as I came to the end of the year, that really helped me to just stop and pause and take a step back before looking ahead, and really acknowledging what I'd been through. And it's in that process of reflection that just so much can happen in that process, starting to, first of all, acknowledging yourself for what you've been through, but even in the really tough years, recognizing that even in the hardest years, there are moments of joy, moments of happiness, and acknowledging the challenges you've been through. Because sometimes people come to the end of the year, they're like, why am I feeling so flat? Why am I feeling so exhausted? And then they start writing out all that's happened. They're like, oh, well, this would be why, and sometimes we
Yeah.
can forget what we've been through. And it's like, and in it later on, we do quarterly reflections. And over the years, so many times I'd be like, why am I so exhausted? It's like April. And I'm writing down all I'd done in that, the previous 3 months. And I'm like, oh, well, this would be why. I've got a ridiculous amount on my plate.
Mm.
That's why I'm exhausted. So actually, something needs to change with this picture. So that process of reflection is really important, but also it can really help us to shift our perspective on things. So when I got to the end of last year, I had really written the year off as like a rubbish year. Like, I hadn't enjoyed it. Wasn't a good year. Like, just wanted to, like, go on to the next year and ignore my journal and not do the reflection. But when I sat down and did it and looked at all the things I was proud of myself for, all the lessons that I had learnt in that year, it really transformed how I viewed it. And I realized it's been a really tough year, but I'm so proud of myself because I've put in foundations that were really important, but they were really scary to do and they were really hard to do. And I'm so grateful to myself for keeping going. And it's also was the thing that forced me into this yoga and meditation practice, which has now actually brought just so much to my life. So just doing that reflection piece can really shift your perspective on things, but it's also a really good kind of primer to get you ready for, what do I actually need next? What do I actually want next? And like I say, at the end of last year, I was probably had, like, what's my next thing for my business? But actually going through that process and realizing, I have I have asked a lot of myself, and I've been through a lot, and we've all been through a lot with the pandemic. And last year I was saying a lot of the people who are there for everyone else, holding everyone else up. It was last year that it felt like it really kicked in, of like exhaustion from it. I was like, at some point we do need to recover from what we went through.
Yeah.
And so that's what made me go, right, it's time for me to really focus on filling up my cup, because I am depleted. And I wouldn't have realized that had I not done the reflection. So that's the important part of that first piece, the reflection piece, looking back. And then you come into the here and now. And that's the gratitude piece. And I think this is really important to just be like, and we would, before we hit record, we were talking about your complaints free. What's
Oh
the
yeah,
challenge
I
you're
thought this would
doing?
be, it's called the complaint free challenge.
Yes.
Everybody who's doing it, what day are we on? I'm on
Well,
day 3
let's see your
again.
bands.
I'm on day 3. But we're finding it a lot harder, like as a community. And there's a great quote from Mr. Shelf Help, my husband, day 1 again, day 1. Everyone's back on day 1. And Mr. Shelf Help, Dan Kennedy, said, if that group of people, like the nicest, most self-aware people in the world, can't do it, there's no hope for like
And hope for the
anyone but a
rest of us.
community.
I did not know how well I would do. Also, I mean, yeah, it's a tough month to do it in December, but you could say that for any month actually, with what's going, depending on
Yeah.
what's going on.
I
But
think everyone surprised themselves by how, I mean, I like, we'll talk about this now. Maybe let's talk about it now a little bit,
yeah,
because it's like we talk in this community about like, you've got to feel it to heal it, share your experiences, share your emotions and things like that. So the complaint free challenge is about not complaining out loud, which is kind of, it's expressing any kind of dissatisfaction with something. But there is a difference. In the book he talks about the difference between venting, which is just saying this happened like over and over again and ruminating on something, versus processing, which is like, this is how I feel about what happened, and that's like a way to move forward, and that's like kind of forward looking. So I feel like maybe tonight this is a complaint free, it's a safe zone
well,
where if people need to vent, they can.
you know what that makes me think of? It makes me think of the non-violent communication tools, which works so well in relationships and any kind of relationship, romantic, friendship, work relationships, although you'd have to have a certain level of confidence to be able to do it. But
Work has been the
you
biggest
say,
challenge,
you
for
say this
sure.
is the story I'm telling myself. This
Mm-hmm.
is it's what I can't remember the exact steps, but it's something along the lines of um I'm feeling this. This is the story I'm telling myself. There's no blame. So it feels quite similar to, no complaints. So because you need to be able to express how you're feeling,
Yeah.
but there is definitely a difference between expressing your feelings and complaining and having a bit of a whinge, and, you know,
Yeah.
it is a different energy. But I mean, it's a tough line to tread. I'd probably be on day 1.
Yeah. Well, I got to day 12 early on. I had like some beginner's luck, but I work from home and I've been by myself for a while. So I feel like that helped. And then Friday I met a load of old friends and back to day 1. But but it was fun. So yeah, so I suppose so gratitude is the opposite of complaining, right? Being grateful for what you have. I don't think you can be in those two mindset, like
Yeah.
frames of mind at the same time.
Well, I think also, very deliberately in the reflection part of the journal is in equal measure. It's certainly not about sugarcoating things and just focusing on the good and pretending like the bad hasn't happened. It's asking you to acknowledge in equal measure, what have the challenges been? What am I grateful? What are the celebrations? What are the things I'm happy about? What have been the hardest moments? What have been the happiest moments? Acknowledging it all, and in that you can really talk about the stuff that has been really tough, like, that was so hard, and that was the biggest challenge.
Mm,
um but coming from it's very cathartic and proactive, and it's just stating the facts. This is what happened, this is how I felt, and taking ownership, as I suppose, as well, comparing that to sort of complaining. But then I like to kind of, right here, right now, who are you grateful for? What are you grateful for? What are you grateful to yourself for? And sort of
mm,
grounding yourself from there. And then from there, there's a whole section then about that I call Hello You. So before we're even getting into 2024, let's just take stock. It's like, if some people call it like a life audit, but just checking in again. What do I like? What brings me joy? Like, what activities make me come alive? Who do I like to spend time with? What are the environments I like to hang out in? And just getting back to real basics. I talk a lot with Life Design about you know, what ingredients do you want to fill your life with? And then making sure you fill your life with, you know, with those ingredients that bring you joy
Yeah.
and make you happy and make you come alive. And that is every bit as important as going after your dreams and making things happen in your life. You know, the day to day, filling your life with the ingredients that make you happy. But a lot of the time, I mean, probably your community, because being that you explore these kinds of topics, probably do know what makes you happy. But a lot of time people will say, I have
Mm.
no idea what, I don't know what makes me happy. You know, so many
Yeah.
people, um, and this is an important one to remember for friends and family that we have who may feel like that, that they've been running on automatic most of their adult lives, doing what they felt that they should. You have to kind of numb yourself a little bit to life in order to just to do that, to just keep following the path you've been told you should. A lot of people come to me and say, I actually don't know what makes me happy. You know, so it's making sure we just take a moment, and also not to just, we are constantly evolving and changing, and so not to just assume, well, I've always enjoyed doing this, so I'll just keep doing it. Well, is that what, you know, do you want something new? You know, I love the way, looking back through the journals, how you can see different sides of you kind of coming to the surface, and, you know, allowing space for that as well. So it's just really taking a moment to check in on, what ingredients do I need right now in my life and my work to feel happy and alive and fulfilled. And then from there, then yes, you can look forward. Then you can start looking at, what do you want this next year to be all about, coming from that place. And as
Mhm.
part of that, what do you want to set as your intention? And that intention doesn't have to encompass everything that you're doing. So your intention could be about, there's a certain area of your life that you do want to change, and you do want to embark on a new adventure and make a big dream come true. And so it could be about that. But more often than not, what I use it for is, I use it to keep me grounded and rooted to looking after my well-being, because like in the past I wasn't good at that. You know,
Mm.
I'm not short on energy and motivation to go out and like, right, I want to make this happen, I want to do that. What I can forget about is myself and looking after myself in the process. So it's been a really powerful one for me to set intentions that are about me, and looking after me as I go after those dreams and make those things happen. For other people, and in other years of my life, it has been really powerful to have that intention be about bringing about a big change, and supporting that. So your intention can come from wanting to feel a certain way. It can be about wanting to have more of a certain experience in your life. So it could be your year of adventure, because you just, you know, a lot out,
Mm.
coming out of the pandemic. It's so interesting to see how people's intentions change. Coming out of the pandemic, lots of people were suddenly like, I want had that intention of adventure, because having been stuck at home the whole time, you know, they were ready, they were itching to like get out there and see the world again and be in the world again. Whereas a lot of other people were doing what I was, which was like wanting to spend time kind of recovering from it all, and sort of
Mm.
getting themselves back again. So yeah, your intention can come from a sort of, you know, a few different places. So it could, and or it could be an intention about a change you want to bring about in your life, and that, you know, you want to just write, this is the year I'm going
Yeah.
to, you know, start that business.
And I suppose marking that, I think there's a lovely big page, at least one in the journal, but it's like, that's like, I think you say it's like an anchor. So it's
Yeah,
something, it's like having an affirmation, isn't it? Stuck on the mirror or something. It's like, this is
yeah,
what to keep coming back to. So when you're making decisions, like, do I want to really move house? Do I want to travel more? Do I want to take that job or whatever? It's like, well, what was my intention for the year? And
yeah.
then it's a reminder to yourself, isn't it? When you actually had the time to get reflective and inspired, what did you want for yourself?
Yeah, and it's also, it's a reminder of, to keep coming back to that, even just that list of ingredients. What do I want to fill my life with? Because, you
Mm.
know, you get to like the 5th of January, or whatever, like, you know, halfway through January, and all those good intentions suddenly, like, life is off it goes. And what happens is, of course, and this is a big part of life design, and why I use a lot, is our calendars. I say your calendar is your canvas. Get this stuff into your calendar. We use it for work,
Yeah.
you know, work appointments and doctor's appointments and meeting up with friends and family, but actually using it to put in time for ourselves, time to do things for me, time to do the things that bring me joy. Because what happens is, of course, in the rush of life and all the things we have to do, is that I mean, who naturally comes as one of their top priorities on their to-do list? Hardly anyone I know naturally comes there, because it's not what we've learned either. And particularly for women, but I'd say for all people, is that, we are told to be good people. You're supposed to be there looking after the needs of others. And, and also there's just so much other stuff going on. So I'm always like, we're way down on our list of priorities. Putting the laundry on and making sure we have milk for tomorrow is usually more important than me and what's going to make me happy. So having intentions that just bring us back to, hold on, in amongst the rush of life, don't forget that this is what you really wanted to focus on this year. So naturally, you're going to forget it. Like, I mean, I don't know what point this year I was like, "Oh, what was my intention again?" I was like, oh yeah, of course, filling up my cup. I might do. I think I need to probably do that a little bit more then. So that's why I also have the quarterly check-ins at the end of the journal, is then to go, rather than like, right, because also we change through the course of the year and we change from season to season. So I'm like, right, rather than planning out your whole 2024, just go, okay, between now and the start of April, what 3 commitments do I want to make? And that can come out of the intention you've set yourself. That can come out of looking like, what have you got going on over the next 3 months? Which of your ingredients do you want to make sure you fill your life with? How do you want to support yourself? But again, it's coming back to making your happiness and your well-being a top priority in your life, not the top priority. It's not like suddenly you become the most important thing and friends and family are, secondary to that, but becoming one of the top priorities in your life. And so,
Mm-hmm.
3 commitments. I would love to say that I always stick to my commitments, but I don't. And that's also okay. So in the process, you come to the end of each quarter and you go, okay, the 3 things I said I would do, what did I do? What didn't I do? And what did I learn from that?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's also important to recognize that sometimes we can have ideas of what we want, and then we step into it and then go, oh, actually, that's not how I imagined it was going to be at all. No, that doesn't work for
Yeah.
me, you know? Rather
Yeah.
than charging on, giving ourselves a hard time. Why aren't I getting up every day to do that thing I said I was going to do? Because actually, maybe in reality it doesn't work for you. And actually, it's not what you want to do. Or you need more support.
Yeah,
You need
sure.
more support to be able to stick to it.
And that's the whole point of checking in, isn't it? What went
Yep,
right, what went wrong, and then
exactly.
course correcting or not as needed.
The kindness method by our great friend
Mm.
Shrew is just, it's
Yeah.
constantly coming back to that, you know, and being
Yeah.
kind to ourselves as we try, as we change habits and go after our dreams and things like that. Because it's not easy. And that's a really, really, really important thing to acknowledge in all of this, that it's not just about, oh yay, sparkly, go after your dreams and, design a life that you love. It's like, oh, it's a real roller coaster, particularly when you're going about big change, whether it's internal or external. um you know we it's I think Donna Lancaster said, who wrote The Bridge and who's brilliant, brilliant sort of spiritual teacher, and she says it, when you feel that feeling of excitement and nervousness, that's when you know that you're really alive. And I think there's a lot of that when it comes to going after your dreams and setting big goals for yourself and designing a life that you love, that it is a roller coaster. And it's important to recognize that human beings really resist change. So on
Yeah.
one hand, you're wanting to create a life that you love. On the other hand, it has you stepping out of your comfort zone and bringing about change, which you really resist. So it's that's why I love supporting people on it,
Yeah.
because people, you need cheerleaders, you need people encouraging you. When I'm going
Yeah.
through it, I'm an absolute mess. When I'm going through
Mm.
changes, I don't, it doesn't get easier the more you know the tools to use. It's important to recognize that um it can be a scary journey, or requires
Yeah.
courage.
Yeah. A brilliant entrepreneur who I kind of found girl over, Kashar Wasmond, said to me, new level, no, next level, new devil. She's like,
Yes.
like she's like, just because you get to the next stage doesn't mean you can then just like sit back and be like, yeah, peace out, I did it.
Yeah.
But that's when the kind of like the voices and the kind of, like you say, the resistance comes in. But Yeah, you're right. And I suppose, and having something like this means that you are your own cheerleader as well. When you look back and
Yeah.
you're like, oh yeah, I knew it. I
Yes.
remembered that I wanted to feel like this, or I remembered it was going to be a challenge because of what happened last time.
Yeah, in
Um,
fact, there's a, oh, here it is, a message from me to me. So I think it's after, let's see, right, yeah. So towards the end, when you've gone through your intention and then you're encouraged to share what that intention is and what your intention for 2024 is, encouraged to share it with someone who will want to see it happen for you. You then get invited to write a message from your, what I call your inner wise cheerleader or your wise older self.
mm,
Like, imagine if you were writing, if someone, you know, really supportive were writing a letter to you right now as you embark on making 2024 your year about whatever it is you want it to be about. What message of support would you like to receive? And so then you write that. So yeah, I'm all about helping people to turn down the volume on their inner shitty committee and turn the volume up on their inner wise cheerleader, because
yeah,
we use that voice for our friends and our loved ones and our
yeah,
colleagues, but we can tend to just reserve, just have the shitty committee as the voice that tends to be speaking back at us, and not
yeah,
that supportive one that we leave for everyone else but not for us.
yeah. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. Shelley's like, yep.
People love the shitty committee, yeah.
I love it too. Right, we've got like 15 minutes left. So should we get journaling?
Yes, yes,
Yes.
absolutely. Right. So write these questions down, because these are definitely ones to go away and reflect on. I've got about, let's see. Do you want me to leave time at the end for questions from
I
people?
think we'll
How
just
long
get,
would you like the segment to be, so I can?
why don't we do 10 minutes of journaling? And if people have any like burning questions, they can ask them in the chat box as we go. So and so probably, guys, what I would do is, yeah, write down the questions, and then then we'll probably want to expand on your answers post session. This is
Yes,
just kind of like a
exactly.
starter, I suppose.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if you've got any questions or you've got any great insights, then share them, please.
Okay, great. So the first one is, looking back at 2023, what was one of your happiest moments in 2023? Choose one of your happiest moments in 2023. Take yourself back there, and you can even write down how you were feeling, what made that moment such a happy moment for you, what ingredients were present that made that such a happy moment. But yeah, one of your happiest moments in 2023. What was yours, Tony?
I'm just thinking, Glastonbury just pinged into my brain.
Oh,
There are lots of ingredients. I only
oh
went for one
yeah.
night. I went for one night only, and it was sunny, and all my best friends were in the field. Most of my
Oh,
best friends were in the field, so yeah, it was fun. And Elton John was there, so
well, yeah.
I'll just put in my journal, as long as Elton John is always available, then that's fine. But yeah, I think like when it comes to the idea of ingredients, like the ingredients there were like I literally don't get out much anymore because I live here in the barn now, and I have to force myself to like go to town, and not because I
Mhm.
don't want to do it, but because I'm like just physically I'm not in the same place as all my friends. So it was like an 8-hour drive or something ridiculous, but it was like, let's make it happen. And I was so glad that I did it. Like
Yes.
the fallout was not fun. I probably
No.
missed a week of work, but it was like it was worth it, for like those moments of like dancing in the sunshine with friends.
Exactly. But isn't that brilliant there? Is just seeing that and going, I had to force myself to do it. There was,
Yeah.
effort involved. I'm so glad I did, and sometimes that definitely is yeah, a good one to recognize. Feel free to write in the chat your answers to these as well, because it's always lovely as well as a community to kind of see what one another's answers are. So next one, what was one of the biggest challenges you overcame this year, or you may still be dealing with it? So what was one of the biggest challenges you perhaps had to be dealing with in 2023? One of. So again, for this exercise, just choose one. You may have had lots of challenges to deal with, but choose the one that right now you want to acknowledge as a big challenge. It could have been a fun challenge.
Could have been
Um,
the complaint-free challenge. Everybody that's doing
okay, everyone's like, oh, is this going to take me back to day one? No, but this is it. So you can absolutely, it was a challenge. It was a challenge.
Why?
Not
Yeah,
complaining about it, just acknowledging the
it's a
challenge.
fact.
It's a
Facts are
fact.
always neutral, apparently, Selina. So that's it's if you stick to the facts, it's not a complaint.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. There you go. I think there's a lot of similarity to non-violent communication with the
I'm
complaints.
going to look into that. I
I
made a
would
note of it.
imagine. I would imagine. Yeah. So what
Jen
was
has
one of the,
said, Jen has
yeah.
said in the chat, does it need to be a challenge you have overcome? I think you said no, you
No,
could
no,
still be.
exactly. No, it could be a challenge
Yeah.
you're also currently dealing with at the moment. So just it's really acknowledging a challenge that you are currently dealing with at the moment or that you overcame. Okay. And then this next question can sometimes come from this. What is an important lesson that you have learnt this year? What is an important lesson that you have learnt this year? I think for me, this is one of the most important questions in the reflection piece. But sometimes you do need to kind of go through what were your happiest moments, what were your challenges, and then what is an important lesson you have learnt from all of that, really, or what springs to mind.
Mm.
Next one is, who are you grateful for right now in your life? So that brings us back into the present.
And do you mean one person specifically, or could it be more than one? Do you want to highlight
So
an individual?
let's go for one for this particular exercise. In the journal, you can say more. In the journal, you say, who are you grateful for? What are you grateful for? And what are you grateful to yourself for? Really important. Really important to acknowledge ourselves. It's one of the most important things about the reflection piece, really, is that we're also acknowledging ourselves for what we've been through, what we've achieved. Because so often, like I say, we can write, what's the next thing? Taskmasters, rather than going, hold on a second, can I just take a moment and actually acknowledge all that I've been through and all that I've done? Because we can so often skip that bit. It's so important to acknowledge what we've been through. So who are you grateful for right now in your life? One person.
And
Oh, my
I
camera's
think
blurred. Thank you. Oh,
there she is. I liked
thanks
what you
very
said earlier.
much.
I
I
liked
know
what
I
you
told you,
said
didn't I?
earlier,
Let's see.
Selina, as well.
There we
Oh, that's
go.
better
I don't
now.
know why
Yeah.
it does it. I think that's one of the things I need to do for 2024 is just
Stick
give
it
up
in.
on this camera and get
Tech.
the one.
I
Thank
liked
you.
what you said earlier, like you were grateful to yourself because you'd put in the foundations, which weren't necessarily
Yeah.
easy or fun at the time because they were
Yeah.
stuff that you didn't do before. But actually, when things got a bit hard, or when you look back at your intention, because you'd done that, then you were able to support yourself. So I think
Yeah.
that's really,
Yeah.
that's really important. Can it be a dog? Can I be grateful for my
Absolutely. We
dog?
can absolutely include animals. Oh, is that Helen? Is that lovely Helen from Club U, who was sending kisses and probably let me know that my camera was blurry. She's so used to it. Yes, it could definitely be animals and dogs, 100%. Any kind of animal. I always feel like a who refers to animals as much as people. I'm an
It
animal
does
lover.
here.
Right. So looking towards 2024. This is coming back to the thing. How would you love to feel this coming year? So this is what we're talking about. It's actually grounding yourself in how you want to feel. Again, this is the problem with New Year's resolutions, is that so often it's I think people just come up with a list that's the sort of what do you normally put on a New Year's resolutions? Go to the gym more, get fit,
Yeah.
learn a language. It's always, it's like, oh, I don't know, what do you put on there? Don't sort of ground yourself and wait, how do you want to feel? What Martha Beck has always talked about, like starting with how you want to feel.
What was that book that you said is the North Star?
I think I must have read it in either I literally read this 15-16 years ago, but it left a mark. Steering by Starlight and Finding Your Own North Star.
Finding Your Own North Star. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just adding it to my list. It's my never-ending list. And Donna Lancaster has been mentioned to me a few times in the last week, actually, because I did something with her for Words for Women. She did for International Women's Day, which is kind of like poems and kind of short passages. I think some people on here have the book, actually. But yeah, I keep hearing about the bridge.
Yeah. So she no longer does the bridge. She does similar things, but she wrote her book, The Bridge, which is
Yeah.
there. She also does a documentary called Loved with the D in brackets. Anyway, about the bridge process. I did the bridge with her years ago, and
Mm,
but watching that documentary, it's so powerful. Seeing the power, how powerfully we can heal, and how powerfully we can heal in community. It's yeah. So if you want to watch something that's
yeah. Watch party
generally, I
coming up.
think it's called someone here will know. I think it's Loved, isn't it? Love. Yeah. So anyway, so back to just mindful of the time. So how you love to feel this coming year? What activities help you to feel that way? And as I said before, later on you could look at what activities, what people, what environments, what practices help me to feel that way. And then the next question was, if you were granted a wish for one dream of yours to come true in 2024, what would it be? I haven't answered this question. I came up with it. I was like, ooh. So I'm going to go away and think about it. And actually, with these questions, obviously I'm rattling them off at speed. But they can be lovely to just take one of those questions, journal on it, or take one of those questions and as you go for a walk, a slow meditative walk, or walk with the dog, or, think about that question and see what kind of comes up, what ideas come up, or if you draw a blank at first, I have no idea what that
Mm,
answer would be. Just let it percolate in the background. Often it's suddenly then when we're doing doing the washing up, doing these meditative activities in the shower where all great ideas seem to descend upon us, that suddenly that idea might come to you tomorrow, in a week, in a month, halfway through March.
can you repeat the question? Do you mind,
Oh
please,
yeah,
with Richard?
sorry. If you were granted a wish for one dream of yours to come true in 2024, what would it be? So what one dream would you really love to see come true?
I've just shared the discount code, everybody. So that's there for you. A lovely 20% off. Merry Christmas. if you buy before the 18th, packed with love from Selina. Carry on journaling, but I just wanted to share that because I'm mindful of the time. Oh, Helen
Thank you. I've
shared the
got one last
documentary.
question
Thanks,
for you as
Helen.
well.
One last question.
Yeah. What is the first practical step you can take now to start bringing that dream to life? So this is a way to show that, I really encourage you to, as part of the journal, is to then dream big, dream what's that dream life you want to have in 5 years' time. Not so you can then compare yourself in 5 years' time to see if your life matches up to it. Mine doesn't, and I've now realised that I'm not only am I okay with it, I'm actually grateful and relieved that that
Mm,
hasn't happened. But it's really important to allow ourselves to dream and really exercise that dream muscle, and then recognizing that the magic we have as human beings is our ability to dream things up and then turn those dreams into reality by turning them into
yeah.
practical projects and turning them to practical actions. Like, we're the only animal, as far as I know, that has this capacity to dream things up that don't yet exist and then turn them into reality. And so big part that I'm passionate about when it comes to designing a life you love is that we should use that magic and that very real magic that we have of being able to do that. So I'm all about showing people how to, like, dream big and then take those dreams seriously and now turn it into a practical project where you can bring that dream to life
Mm,
today, in the next couple of months, this year, and get really practical and grounded with it. So
brilliant.
those were all my
And I
questions.
thank you. If everybody got all of those, if you didn't, let us know and we can repeat. But I just think, just to close, I think this is such a lovely time of year. I know it is a bit frantic, but I think it's so nice, isn't it, to kind of use the, like, Christmas, New Year time to kind of do that reflection. Give yourself the gift of, why not give yourself the gift of taking a bit of time to get clear on what you actually want. And then,
Yeah,
like you say, and then you can start getting, and then you're kind of working backwards from that, aren't you, to kind of the practical steps that will make it happen. So my goal that didn't happen this year, but it will happen at some point, is to live in Ibiza for a few months, live and work. And my first step is get Duolingo on my phone. Have I done it? No. Not. I have not. Will I do it in January? maybe no, but it'll be on the list. But I've said it now. I
Yeah,
think I said it
exactly.
before. But yeah.
Accountability, the power of
But that's what
accountability.
you mean, isn't it? Those kind of the small steps, like the practical
Yes.
things that then kind of tell your brain that you are serious about doing this stuff.
Exactly that. And I'd say it's really that time between, what do they call it, Romjul, that has all sorts of betwixtmas, all sorts of names. That time between Christmas and the New Year is fluff flying by, is a really lovely time to do this, when it does feel like collectively for a lot of us, time
Yeah.
sort of stands still for a moment as we sit in our living rooms and eat boxes of Ferrero Rocher. Well, that's what I do. But also, don't feel under any pressure to have figured out what you want this next year to be all about by the 1st of January. For me, like I say, I think actually
Yeah, I love
January
that.
is a better month to do this reflection stuff. That said, starting tomorrow night, I'm doing Tuesday night live journaling sessions, which are free to join. Bring your
Oh,
journal,
brilliant.
drink of whatever you want, and we just journal together, just to create those pockets of time. And I'm a big fan of doing things in community, which I'm sure
Yeah,
you're a big fan of too.
I am. And how do people access that if they wanted to join?
If you go to, oh, what is the best way to do it? Let me send the link right now.
Okay.
Let me
And
send
just
the link
and
right
then
now.
if you have time just for one question,
Yeah, of course.
I think. Thank you guys. If you have to pop off, it's 8 o'clock, so I appreciate we are running a little bit over. I think this is a good question though, because a lot of people I'm sure will relate. From Shelley, her gut answer to the how she wants to feel is happy, but I think she's like, is that too easy? Is it a cop out just to say I want to be happy?
Um, yeah, it's a really good question actually, because yes, happy can be translated into so many different ways. I would say, just ask yourself, when are the moments where, if you look back, for example, at this past year or other times, your happiest moments in your life, what were you doing? How were you feeling in those moments? If it is just keeps coming back to happy, that's totally fine. Happy. It's then what you do with that, and then look at, what are the activities that make me happy?
Yeah,
Who are the people? What are the places? What are the practices and experiences? And then that gives us ingredients. So yeah, of course you can have happy. People often
yeah,
say like, oh, yeah, that sort of happy kind of almost like isn't allowed because it's too ambiguous. But if it works for you and it helps you to get clear on what those ingredients are, then go
yeah,
for happy.
yeah. There we go, Shelley. Hopefully that's a good answer. I can see her nodding away. Shelley's in LA, by the way. How cool is that?
Yay.
Um, So thank you very much, Selina. Thank you so much for being here.
Ah,
Thank you for sharing all the questions and all the. I think it's just such a good advice on kind of like how to do the journaling process, because it's like there's not that there's a right and a wrong way, but it's good to have your kind of expert advice on that. So thank you for that.
oh, I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to being in this room and packing boxes. And well, I'm not
Oh,
going to move my label printer, but they're all here making their little whirring noise as I pop them on the box.
sent with love. I love it. Yes, guys, I've added the discount code. If you missed it, then you can message me, and it's in the app as well. And just before we go, special shout out to Jen then, who got through her first Monday, no complaining. And I feel like that is we can all celebrate that. Well done, Jen.
Well done.
Thank you, everybody. Have a
Can I just
wonderful week.
can I just answer Fiona, just to say that if you scroll up, there's the link to
There's a
joining
link.
the journaling. It's free to join. Come and journal away. Starts tomorrow.
projectu.com. Goodbye, hello club.
Yeah, with
What a
hyphens.
great idea. Sure,
Yeah,
you'll see some people there from
yeah.
here.
Can't wait.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful week. Enjoy your journaling. See you
Bye.
soon. See you next week. Bye.